Salam, Real intervyunu izləyirsiniz və biz Bakıda Azərbaycan Hava Yolları Qapalı Səhmdar Cəmiyyətinin Aeronavigasiya Hava Hərəkatı İdarəsinin təşkilatçılığı ilə Canso'nun Ümumdünya Aeronavigasiya Samiti artıq işə başlayıb və həmçinin bu həftənin sonunda təşkilatın 28-ci illik iclası keçiriləcək və mən istəyirəm ki, məhz Real intervyunu bizim xarici qonaqlarımızla davam etdirək və bizim bugünkü müsahiblərimiz Heldon Dodd, ATAG-nin baş direktoru və növbəti qonağımız Simon Hawkward, Canso'nun baş direktorudur və xatırladım ki, müsahiblərim ingilis dili olduğu üçün siz Real intervyunu dublyajla və ya tərcümə titrları ilə izləyəcəksiniz. So, welcome to Azerbaijan, and it's really nice to see you here. So, my first question will be to Mr. Simon. So, I would like to ask about the Canso. What is the Canso and which messages will Canso provide this year to the world in the summit?
Okay, well, first off, it's fantastic and fabulous to be here in a lovely city, Baku. So that's the first thing. Canso represents what we call the air traffic management industry. Now, that's often a fairly invisible industry. So anybody who flies anywhere around the world, they get on a flight at an airport and they go from airport to airport. How do they get from A to B? Well, actually, that's where air traffic management comes in. We make sure that every flight transits from A to B safely and efficiently, and lots of people are involved in making that happen. And we represent that entire industry. Which is really, really important. It's a nice industry, it's a good industry, and our job is to try and improve global operations all over the world to make them safer, better, more efficient, and more sustainable. And that's a really, really key message that's important, not just to air traffic management, but to the whole aviation industry. So our key messages are: we need to be sustainable. We need to be sustainable, we need to be efficient, and of course we need to be able to create the capacity and the infrastructure to enable everybody to fly should they want to do so.
Thank you so much. So, and I would like also to ask about ATAG. So, can you provide a little information about this, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So, our organization is the Air Transport Action Group, and our job is to bring together all the different parts of the aviation industry. So, Simon's team represents air traffic management. We also bring on board the airlines, the airports, and the makers of aircraft and engines, the whole aviation system, if you like. And our job is to make sure that we have a sustainable future. Our real focus is on that sustainability question and climate change. How do we work together as an industry to make sure that every flight that you take and all your viewers take is as efficient as possible and getting more and more efficient as we move forward through the years. So providing that platform for the industry to work together is really important. As Simon said, when you get to an airport, you get on board an aircraft, you take off, you fly to a different destination. The amount of coordination that takes across all different parts of the industry is really extraordinary, just for one flight. But we have 120,000 flights a day around the world taking off and landing, and the coordination is really important. We take that on board and we do that coordination on long-term issues, sustainability issues, and that's why conferences like this are so important, is it brings people together, it brings colleagues together to learn from each other, to be able to understand how each other's working, and to make plans for working together to improve the way that they operate going forward.
Thank you so much. So I would like to mention that both of the companies are making the huge things for the people who are using and who love to be travel and for the air navigation. So right now we are in Baku. So why and what's our message to the world? So what would we like to message to the world by summit here in Azerbaijan?
So as we represent the entire world of air traffic, actually it's about 90% of the world's airspace that we represent. So all the airspace around the world, 90% we represent. And we travel around the world holding various events and conferences. But actually this week, this is one of the most important weeks of our entire year. And the reason for that is a number of reasons. One is we call it our annual general meeting. So we have all of our members here and they have their ability to influence and say what they would like to see us do over the next 12 months and beyond, and also to see what we've been doing over the last few years. We have most of the leaders from all over the world, the CEOs and the Director Generals of air traffic, to talk about sustainability, to talk about the environment, to talk about what role and what can air traffic management do to really improve, what changes can we make, what do we need to be focused on to make sure that aviation is sustainable in the future. Because it's not just about making aviation sustainable for people that want to go on holiday. You know, aviation is much bigger than that. It's about cargo, it's about economies, it's about connectivity and all those. And if that disappears, actually, I think the world will be a much sadder place. So it's combined the general meeting, but importantly, it's about the summit, talking about our role and our capability and our desire to help make aviation more sustainable.
Thank you so much. And one important topic which will be discussed in the summit is net zero 2050. So what would you like to tell about this?
No, absolutely. So that's one of our most important tasks, challenges as an industry, is how do we get to net zero carbon by 2050? As an industry, we adopted a goal of net zero carbon by 2050 back in 2021. We spent a year then working with the world's governments under our United Nations agency to make sure that the governments were on board with that goal as well, and they are. But of course, it's a real challenge to meeting that goal. And so it's important that we look at a range of different measures to get there. New technology, so things like new types of aircraft and bringing in new forms of energy for our aircraft. Changing the fuel that we use from fossil fuel today to sustainable aviation fuel in the future. Improving the work that we do on infrastructure and operations, which is really where Simon's part of the story comes in with the air traffic management and improving that. So that's a really important part of the equation as well. And the important thing with that is you can do that today. We can already start improving the efficiency of airspace and making sure that we have more efficient operations right now today. Whereas some of the technology questions, things like sustainable aviation fuel, are going to take a little longer to be able to come in over time. So making sure that we can work together on all those different levers and pull them all as hard as we can and as fast as we can in order to get to net zero. That's the challenge of our lifetime, and certainly one that we are really committed to as an industry.
Yes, and this is also one important things that you talked about, the environment, and you know that COP29 will be held in Azerbaijan this year. And what about the aviation and environment? So how these two terms are combining together?
I think they've got to be combined together. I think for our whole future, actually, as I said before, aviation has so many benefits, and if it's not sustainable and we don't meet that sustainability, as Haldane said, you know, there's net zero goal. If we don't meet that, then actually I think we've not just failed aviation, we've failed society. So it's that big and it's that important, and that's one of the other reasons why we're here. You know, Azans, you know, is such a great organisation in terms of they've wanted to host us. That's where we want to be. It's a great example of why aviation and environment is so important. We're here it's all combined together with the COP coming up later on in the year. Actually, it's a theme that's so important and essential. Actually, it's critical. You know, we need to succeed, but we can't do it on our own. And Haldane mentioned lots of other things about, you know, we need to be able to work together with others. The whole different moving parts of the industry, we need to work together. Nobody can do this on their own. An airline can't do it on its own.
Yes. So my last question will be for both of you. So how do you see the role of Azerbaijan in advancing global air traffic management and sustainability?
Azerbaijan as a whole, I think they're really looking at digital and different types of energy, and you can tell that. Just walking around the city, you can tell that. And I think that's a really strong advert. So it's not just aviation, but it's broader than an aviation. But then if I look at Azans particularly, what actually they're doing is Canso, we have something called Green ATM. Now, Green ATM is an accreditation of of how sustainable you are as an organisation, from what how you use your power to how efficient your airspace is, and so on and so forth. And Azans have recently agreed to be accredited and look at their own environmental performance. That's brave and it's good, and it sets the tone actually for the rest of Eurasia, for the rest of Europe, and that's a really positive step. So they're two really good reasons why we're here.
And every day, airlines across the world, airports across the world, air traffic management providers are putting in place more efficiency tools and metrics as well. And one of the examples here is the use of new technology. So Azerbaijan Airlines have purchased new A320neo aircraft, the latest Boeing aircraft as well, coming into the fleet. Every aircraft that enters the fleet is about 20% more fuel efficient than the one that it would replace. And so that's a really important part of the story as well. But I think more importantly, and it's fantastic that Azerbaijan is hosting COP29 this year, because it can say to the world that even a country that has got a rich history in energy extrapolation from the ground using fossil fuels can think about the energy transition. And that's the most important thing of all, making sure that as a society, aviation, but also other parts of the economy, are thinking about moving away from fossil fuels. And in aviation, one of our roles in ATAG is to try and ensure that we can bring on as much sustainable aviation fuel across the world as possible. Not just in North America or Europe, where really there's been a bit of leadership so far, but in developing economies around the world, in energy-rich countries like this, Azerbaijan has a really unique opportunity to use some of the knowledge, some of the infrastructure that it already has in refining capacity and pipelines and expertise to be able to make that shift across to sustainable aviation fuel for us as well. So that's a really important opportunity, and hopefully COP29 provides a real boost to those kind of efforts.
So would you like to add something at least?
I think now is the right time. If we leave it any later, it's too late. Looking back, I wish we could have started perhaps earlier, but actually now is the right time. I think technology is improving, our understanding is improving, science is improving. So being here, talking about these things in this country, actually is perfect. It's perfect timing.
Thank you so much. And you, please?
I think absolutely, but it's at the right time. We have an enormous opportunity ahead of us. This is an enormously exciting time in aviation and in other parts of the economy as well. We need to move faster, we need to move bigger, but actually we're in a really important moment right now. So grasping that, taking the chance of collaboration, cooperation, working together as much as possible, like we do in aviation. If others can learn from us as well, that's really the most important lesson. Cooperate, and we can make this happen together.
Thank you so much, and I'm really appreciating for joining us on Real interview, and see you, I think, next time in your other summits. Xatırladım ki siz Real intervyunu izlədiniz və bizim müsahiblərimiz Heldon Dodd, ATAG-nin baş direktoru və Simon Hawkward, Canso'nun baş direktoru idi və biz Ümumdünya Aeronavigasiya Sammitinin, həmçinin Canso'nun 28-ci illik ümumi iclasının ərəfəsində məhz iki baş direktorla müsahibəni izlədiniz. Siz serialı izləməkdə davam edin.